Hello everyone, welcome to episode 34 of Reviews with Ranjani. Today we're going to talk about one of the most highly anticipated books of 2020, the presidential memoir, A Promised Land by Barack Obama. Yeah, I honestly love this genre, biographies and autobiographies, because it almost feels like taking a peek into the day-to-day lives of people we admire from afar. And at the end of the book, we come back with this feeling of being acquainted to the stranger we have never met or might never meet. So, first of all, the book is massive. It's a whopping 29 hours on Audible, and even with 1.5x speed that I read at, that I listened to, it was around 19-20 hours. Yet I honestly did not want this to stop or end, especially because Obama's voice is pretty reassuring that way. So Obama takes us on this journey through his childhood to his political infancy, through grassroots activism to his explosive growth leading to the highest office in America. And it has details, clearly a lot of it, both political as well as personal. More of the former than the latter though, yeah. So it covers his compelling journey of turning his political aspirations into reality, and this amidst personal and political battles which seemed insurmountable. And I was mesmerized to understand all of this underlying diplomacy and mind games that entails moving to the highest office. And reflecting on his presidency, he delves into these landmark moments that marked his first term of presidency, pretty much like a record of his decisions and time in office. And if you remember, he took over the presidency at a very tumultuous time, right? It was the time of the fall of Lehman Brothers, and the economy was in turmoil. He talks about how he had to work on turning that around. He talks about passing the controversial Affordable Care Act, to tackling international issues, even while reflecting on the role and responsibility that US plays in mediating across countries beyond its borders. He talks about the war-torn Middle East, to the delicate balance of power that needs to be maintained across nations, to the Climate Change Act. Yeah. So I honestly don't think I can do justice to the detail by covering this in a few minutes. So what I would do today is to talk about three key themes that stood out to me across the book. All right. The first one, and I'm quoting here, yeah. Whatever you do won't be enough. I heard their voices say, try anyway. So politics is, or pretty much like for anyone in power, is a game. And the ones who know how to play right are the ones who win. So there are so many instances he calls out where even wanting to do the right thing entails juggling between like multiple forces, yeah, and of negotiation and power plays. And it reminded me of when I was a kid, right, where I used to think that if I were to explain all of my points cogently and logically and do my work right, then things will happen exactly the way I intended it to be. Yeah. So the first one. All right. The second thing, emotions drive people. And that's a trope which is universal if you think about it, right? Especially in people we elect. People vote for stories, not necessarily for rational decisions or based on some kind of cost-benefit analysis that we do. And in the absence of rationality, or sometimes even to mask it, some folks may use hot-button topics, right? And that is usually good at diverting attention from the problem area. And usually, if you think about it, it's a story of us versus them. And this could be defined by gender or race or nationality or religion. And the common denominator it is the common denominator which is always relied upon, right, when rationality goes out of the door. He also talks about the critical role that media plays in across countries, right, in shaping narratives. And the only thing that can hold us through is awareness, learning, and through education. Yeah. All right, the third point, or the third theme rather, is the backstory. There's always a backstory. Yeah. So the international diplomacy scene fascinates me, right? We are made privy to his thoughts as he takes these critical decisions, such as sending young soldiers into war, knowing that many may not necessarily return. And I've always wondered what goes in, what are the thoughts of the leaders who meet and pose for all of these smiling photographs, right? Something which we love to read about. So he talks about people and puts us in places and situations that we have only read the headlines for. Say, for example, the Situation Room, where he planned and waited in bated breath for the fall of Osama bin Laden, to the places around the world, from Moscow to Beijing, to his opinion about multiple personalities such as Sarah Palin to Vladimir Putin, to Manmohan Singh to General Stanley McChrystal. And finally, though lesser than what I anticipated it would be, glimpses of his life with Michelle and the girls. He also talks about losing out on being an unknown person and leading a normal life, being lost to him forever. Yeah. So those were the three themes. I was pretty surprised that this book covered only the first term of his presidency, and I realized late that there's apparently a second volume which is yet to come out. One I honestly can't wait to get my hands on. So it's a beautifully written book, and while I do not have enough context to comment on either decisions taken or on his leadership, I still think it's a very powerful narrative on what an individual can achieve. Yeah, I will end this review with a favorite quote from this book. One I also have as a post-it behind me. Enthusiasm makes up for a host of deficiencies. Yeah, enthusiasm makes up for a host of deficiencies. All right, so with that, I hope you folks enjoyed this. Let me know if you managed to pick up this book and read it. Yeah, thank you. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.